Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Our first topic is about reading a whole book versus reading passages. And I think what the article is responding to, because the article in the images of this video are of a letter, a response to a prior article about reading passages and whole books. I think the letter is engaging with addressing how one might be able to embrace reading whole books while being able to embrace Basal reading passages, reading excerpts as a part of the learning methodology. I think one may approach reading in myriad ways, though, to find value of reading comprehension, of engagement, of interest, to really engage what the brain may be developing like. There are many intricate dimensions of one's being in development with regard to how one is learning. So with regard to these details, I think reading a whole book is a wonderful practice for engaging one's intentional reading practices, comprehension, development, awareness, in ways that assist with connecting dynamics more so than constant jumping from one point to another point, even considering what technology may be in the world outside of education. Even if that technology may assist with learning, the reality of what learning may be for individuals rests on how individuals are able to develop long term, and how the immediate learning dimensions are impacting the individual and how the individual is receiving the learning dimensions. There are many instances of reading that involve being able to recall, not necessarily just memorize, to engage with a story full length. The idea of whether a chapter book with chapter 1 or chapter 2 as chapter titles is challenging in comparison to chapters with names. These are seemingly minute details that individuals may be able to address that may affect how individuals learn. There are so many ways to engage with comprehending what may prove more valuable. And I find with the dynamics of reading a full text, engaging in one story in depth in many different ways, allows for a deeper integrative learning versus addressing how one may be able to work to a capacity, especially if only to complete an assignment with excerpts. I think each may prove valuable to teach different lessons of reading. And I think to really bolster learning well, to really engage an entire classroom, reading one book on a set schedule will really prove beneficial. The potential of cost effectiveness with just one book may balance not only for student, though for educators as well. Regarding printing cost, these details that might not seem as much, though, add up, considering the amount of individuals that may have to print, for example. At a printer, how much does ink cost? How much does paper cost? What might an educator be doing with one's time, aside from trying to find assignments that work with a lesson, versus just having the individuals purchase a book and using the text, being able to create a quiz or a test or assignment with far less resources on an educator, and in connection with learning dynamics that bolster deep integrative learning, so individuals do not feel the constant dynamic of attempting to match up against learning that seems like it's matching up against technology. That is not a way to adjust, especially since the technology dynamic is not really new. The dynamics of learning, I acknowledge, may connect with how individuals are developing. So the learning through an educational environment has to cater to the learning as best as possible. I think regardless of what technology may be offering, the reality is one may learn differently than what technology is offering. Just because there are freezers available doesn't mean everyone learns about parameters of a freezer, though individuals may use a freezer. The concept is to say that a freezer may prove to be extremely important for one's nutritional dimensions. A fridge might be really important for one's nutritional dimensions, though how one embraces learning may not connect to freezers and fridges until one really wants to learn about freezers and fridges, the dimensions of all of which connect to freezers and fridges. In recognizing the reality of what learning in school might assist with at a point when one's interest may deeply evolve, deeply become aware with a particular area of growth that one is seeking, one will be ready to embrace the particular area of growth to wonderful depths of deep integrative learning. So this is not to say that individuals will not be able to do so with Basal reading. A lot depends on an individual's temperament, an individual's character, an individual's personality. Though the importance of recognizing the dynamics in play with learning bring into attention how one may recognize learning differentiating from business, learning differentiating from parameters of technology. This does not bring more onus onto educators more so than any other time historically. There are ways to engage with learning, and many of the learning dynamics that connect with engaging the whole person to really acknowledge how one may develop well are not of political dimensions. Consider how learning happens even outside of an educational environment. Then one may recognize how learning well is learning well. And there are core areas that only pertain to learning, regardless of attempts of manipulation that may be adverse to learning experiences, especially regarding how human beings develop. I think the dimensions of learning always need to be set at the core of appropriate attention to ensure the most appropriate developments are in progress and implementation. Our next article, when discussing how trauma might affect individuals neuroimmunologically, thinking epigenetically, one may well regard how emotional experiences are not always of a silo. A community may experience what one individual is experiencing. One individual may experience what a community is feeling. Empathy, sympathy, dynamics of being human, one's character, one's personality, how all these detail how individuals will respond to a circumstance will be depending on many factors. I find one may well recognize how individuals that are in an educational environment may not be expecting any to remove their presence from a learning capacity, especially considering the individuals that are learning may be the individuals that are going to contribute greatly to the community, to the connecting communities of which the learning environments connect to. I do not want to limit the idea of well-being in these regards to any idea of fear. There are other elements to consider, elements of shock, elements of confusion that may not have to do with fear, though may have to do with the not knowing, the unawareness of possibilities, especially when already in a potentially precarious situation beyond an educational environment. No one knows the environment that a domestic environment's range. So when individuals are engaging with a pathway that may be the pathway to bring about an entirely different, wonderful future away from what may already be seemingly traumatic, and experience a form of trauma, then one may hope the individuals are resilient beyond what may already seem legally problematic, which may already receive different approaches to address circumstances. This is not only a situation that has come to attention for educational environments, work environments that experience individuals that have no right to be entering the space of professionalism to engage with dismantling the professional processes, progressions that are set so as to improve well, are all a part of an experiencing of traumatic instances, of shocking instances, of confusing instances. Might you imagine if an individual walks into your professional environment to tell you that what is happening is not to be happening, though the individual informing you has no literal business, inclusive of knowledge, awareness of industry at all, in comparison to what you're already working with within an interdependent reality. Now, with sense, one might call the police. One might immediately look for law enforcement, arrest the individual or individuals, then proceed to enforce legal dimensions so as to ensure to protect the environment. Not just an educational environment, the professional environments as well. So one may wonder, what differentiates between protocol? If any is breaching the lobby without permission, without stopping at the front, without clearance, the situation then becomes a voluminous area to consider of problems. Not only on the side of the perpetrator, though of any of the environment allowing for the situation to be so. Now, when individuals are in a state of shock, confusion, especially with how to respond with what might be connecting externally from an environment to being so present to one's immediate environment, then one may wonder why. There are many situations that need addressing, that do affect individuals in many different ways. And the wonderful portion of these dynamics regards resilience, regards options that are legally entwining, protective, though there may be dimensions of physical impacts that may affect individuals. There are legal, emotional protections, dynamics to consider, spiritual, many areas to consider that will outlast these traumas, will outgrow them, and the physical dimensions will be in tune with the good growths, especially as one caters well to one's well-being, as well as receives the support appropriate for one's well-being, and as long as one acknowledges the interdependent reality at large, the possibilities of life. Yes, to be resilient is not necessarily a point to address when one is engaging with these dynamics, though to recognize that good possibilities are available when one is engaging these dynamics is extremely important. Because there is more beyond the circumstance that aligns with the objectively good. All right, let's get into some origami. So I have here a squarish origami sheets. I will be folding it point to point for sure. Alrighty, and then I'll be folding it edge to edge. If you have sides of different designs, the edge to edge will have to have the side that you do not want primarily as the point with the mountain folds, with the folds that really project out. Now we come to our fold. As you can see here, we're going to bring in the top of this point down. So bring this top of this point down. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to open up, you see, we're going to open up the inside of this origami fold, and we're going to flatten it out. Okay. So I'm going to flatten it out here. Good. It doesn't have to be perfect, and this is a part of the reason why I mentioned squarish fold, because we can see that these origami sheets not always necessarily going to be the perfect squares, and that's all right. So after we fold our sensors this way, we are going to fold, we're going to turn it around first off. So we're going to turn it around after we have our open area. We're going to turn it around so this side is facing, and we're going to fold up to the center line. After we fold to the center line, we're going to fold this inside just till it gets to meeting that edge. And we'll fold the next one till it's meeting that edge. Good. Next, we're gonna just fold the triangle portion down, okay? After we fold the triangle portion down, it's going to look like this. What we're gonna do next is we're going to fold the other portion down, the top part to meet the inside. Keep doking. And what we're gonna do next is we're just gonna bring it in. Okay, same idea, bring the triangle portion in. Also, after you bring the triangle portion in, you're gonna wanna fold it. So you're gonna wanna fold it down. This portion, you're gonna wanna fold it down this way. And then if you bring this triangle portion in, you're gonna fold it up. So you just follow in with the fold similarly. Then what we're gonna do, so now you should be looking at your forming boat. Then you're gonna just bring everything up. And that way, you'll start to see the forming of the boat. And I'm just gonna take one area and loop it around. So with that, you just take in one area here. I'm just gonna bring it around. And you can do two things there with it. So you just bring this in around, and they're just gonna loop in. I say pick the side that just loops in best. Okay, so then you can see they're looped together. If you can get one inside of the hole, then you can really solidify yourself. So that's what I say though. Loop in whichever one makes the boat fold. So this way it will stay nice here, like so. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it now. So we're just gonna open carefully. Don't mind if it comes out, but we're gonna open it now. And we're just gonna press in the top portion here. So we're just gonna loop it in. And there you have it. You have this origami fold. If you find a way to secure the edges a lot firmer, great. So let me show you my final piece here as I bring it together, because the outside folds I think can be better. But looks like one of those boats that look like skis. But this is it opened that way, more of a raft there. Though, again, you can slide it in there. Oh, there we go. So there's a slide in here. That works. Seems to work. Then you can have it connecting. So there are many ways to try to adjust it. And yeah. There it is, we'll call it the origami raft for that one. All right. I champion reading physical books. When an individual reads a physical book, there are a lot of health benefits, and an individual's physical brain changes while one is reading a physical book. Thinking fast, slow, Dr. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, to a large degree, bring together many different ideas regarding how to approach research, how to approach ideas, what are dimensions of research that one must be aware of, and the text involves 2 additional portions, appendices, that are really informative to these concepts. A lot of the concepts actually revolve around dynamics of emotional intelligence, engaging how the brain responds with what might be more of an immediate stimulation response versus a slower response that may be secondary, may need more simmering. So the idea revolves around 2 ways of thinking that are integrating in many different biological, chemical facets of one's being that really assist with directing how one may respond. I really find the text offerings to be extremely valuable, especially since the text is really engaging how individuals might be able to commune with more understanding, how individuals may be able to develop with more accuracy. And I think the dimensions of which the book engages to really encourage conversing and thinking and researching different topics, as well as presenting different topics, is extremely valuable. I think any may benefit from engaging with the readings, especially individuals that are attempting to be able to be more literate, and one may really regard how what these authors are bringing forward really regards how one may be more media literate. And these authors do a phenomenal job really engaging with information that may really bring one's awareness to broaden how one engages more accurately with details, not only for just being aware, though for engaging procedurally, practically with dimensions of communicating, learning, presenting, engaging research in myriad ways. Thanks for joining. I don't know. We can talk about it. Onward and Upward, Kevin Dufresne.